With a second chicken run on the horizon, I thought it only prudent to go back and have a look at the old year 2000 classic. Now firstly, I'm not sure about a second chicken run movie. Honestly, the whole concept worries me. I'm tired of everything from my past being brought back to the limelight only to be defiled and ruined. It's something that keeps happening, and each time part of my soul dies. Take something pure and creative from the past and cynically resurrect it for money. It hardly ever works. Similar to what Robert Duvall said in regards to The Godfather Part 3, the only reason to make a second chicken run film at this point in time would be for money. But regardless of all of that cynical savagery, we can still take a look back at a film that we know to be good and pure. Chicken Run.
No chicken escapes from Tweedy's farm!
Now this is a film from my childhood, so a big question you might be having is, will I let my nostalgia for this film cloud my judgment? And absolutely not. That's not a thing that happens with me. I'm the most impartial, non-biased, objective film reviewer on the site, so there you go. I've watched this film many times as an adult, and I love it for entirely new reasons now, despite whatever my childhood persona thought of it. I love how it's essentially the great escape for kids. I love how it echoes the styles of all of these classic war films from the past. I love how dark it is, how they used almost concentration camp-esque imagery in the design of the chicken pen. But the colourlessness of the whole place, everything is bleak and grimy, but it makes you understand why escape is imperative. And escape, let's just talk about that. Escape has to be one of the most exciting story beats in literature. How could you not get behind that, like, especially as a kid, the inherent rebellious nature of it? You could have imagined you were trying to break out of school or something when you were watching this. Near the end of the movie, where Ginger and the rest of the hens have no other choice but to attack Mr. Tweedy, I remember thinking, yeah, we should do that at school. We should attack one of our teachers because we'd have morality on our side.
Tweedy! Chickens are revolting!
Finally, something we agree on.
Now there's going to be a lot of what you might call gushing in this review, but it is all sincere, so please just try and just understand where I'm coming from. The excitement is palpable as soon as you press play. You see the DreamWorks intro and that music comes in, that sensational music. And anticipation builds as you wait for the film to start. You know you're in for a classic movie experience similar to the likes of The Dirty Dozen or The Great Escape. It's a kids' movie, but the music being used here has the style of a 50s action movie that never gets old. One of those films that's endlessly rewatchable and never ceases to inspire merriment. The music's saying something's taking flight now, something is building here, something monumental is about to happen. Also, on that score, the synchronization it has with the action on screen is something that I've only recently come to appreciate. It's so purposeful in how it correlates with and complements what's going on in the moment. It flows perfectly with the physical movements of what's on screen. This is how you breathe dynamic energy into your action set pieces, and it's probably why it's so easy to become engrossed in what's going on. You only have to look at a few scenes to know that I'm right. Whether it be the characters, the camera work, or any specific object, the movements in frame all have their own appropriate musical beats playing alongside them. The film opens up with an escape attempt that goes awry. Now, not to be all, oh, it's such an excellent scene that tells you everything and does so much with so little, but it kind of does. That gorgeous establishing shot of this miserable prison, the harsh barbed wire fence and the grey muddy floor of the pen. It's all imagery that stayed with me as a kid. Again, it's pastiching these gritty war films, which makes it so atmospheric. The farmer's hunting torchlight shining across the perimeter with his vicious guard dogs beside him. There's genuine tension here, especially watching as a kid. fucking A right, be quiet. When Ginger gets spotted, you're like, oh fuck. This all culminates with the reveal of the main villain, Mrs. Tweedy. Now, in terms of pure character design, it really doesn't get much better than this, because this bitch is still terrifying.
What is that chicken doing outside the fence?
She's like every intimidating teacher or mean dinner lady rolled into one. It's brilliant in how relatable it is. At least every British kid has a real life example of a person that they can project this character onto. Throughout the film, Mrs. Tweedy is shown to have pretty much no humanity. There's nothing soft about her. She's essentially just this chicken-hating Nazi. And never does this feel one-dimensional. She always feels like a fairly feasible person to exist, particularly in fucking Britain.
It's chickens, you dolt! Apart from you, they're the most stupid creatures on this planet.
Just resentful and a downright bully, takes all of their aggression out on Mr. Tweedy.
Idiot!
In it for herself, only cares about her own happiness, just fuck her.
Militia Tweedy will be poor no longer.
It should also be noted that these two characters are husband and wife, yet they only ever refer to each other as Mr. and Mrs. Tweedy because their relationship is that scuffed.
Mr. Tweedy!
And just a message for the viewers, no posting in the comments about how much of a simp Mr. Tweedy is. Like, please, for the love of God, we're past this. Can we all just grow up? Following the initial botched escape attempt, our main character Ginger is put in the cooler for the night. Just in case we didn't have enough evidence that this film is paying tribute to The Great Escape, the direct visual callbacks hammer that point home. Next up is an opening montage of several more escape attempts instigated by the chickens, with Ginger overseeing everything as the ringleader, of course. Not only is this a fun and entertaining sequence to watch, but it also tells us everything we need to know about these characters and their plight. It's demonstrated to us that Ginger is a bold and forthright leader, as every time one attempt is foiled, she immediately gets back to planning the next scheme. Right out of the cooler, she is just as determined as ever to get on with the next plot. She's always first through the breach with every mission, showing us that she's a brave and respectable leader. She'd never ask anyone to do anything she wouldn't do herself. It should also be noted that it's made very clear to us that Ginger is perfectly capable of escaping on her own, but that's not her goal. Her goal is to get all of the chickens out at the same time. There's nothing selfish about her central aim, it's a very noble desire. Without dialogue, it is affirmed to us that Ginger is a largely selfless person, or chicken, who deeply cares for the rest of her flock. We're told all of this information without us realising it, all the while being entertained by the montage. And that aforementioned energy or vibe granted the film by its musical score is certainly present here. This shot here, that quick pan down as the music ramps up, it's so bloody exciting. Fuck yeah, come on. The montage also conveys to us the state that the chickens are in. By the start of the film's first act, we know that they've tried to escape numerous times already, to no avail, and some of them are losing hope. The board is set, Ginger is a badass leader, the chickens need to get the fuck out of here, roll on the movie. However, this film isn't quite done with cementing this sense of threat, as immediately following this opening montage, we get a scene where all of the chickens are lined up as the Tweedies inspect how many eggs they've been producing. Any scene with Mrs. Tweedy is instantly entertaining. She walks with the same evil swagger exhibited by those Gestapo officers from those old 60s World War II films. Those big leather boots top it all off. The sound design as well, when you cut from the ordinary human perspective to how the chickens perceive her. It's such expressive storytelling. Mrs. Ratchet sees that one of the chickens hasn't been producing any eggs all week, so the farmers take her away and decapitate her. Now, would a modern kids movie go this far with the concept of murder? Even though it's just a shadow accompanied by the sound of an axe falling, it's still remarkably explicit for the demographic that this film was made for. It's dark, certainly, but it's not edgy, because I remember as a kid the scene didn't traumatise the living shit out of me, but it still had its intended effect. The sense of severity and hopelessness, that chicken's just been killed and she ain't coming back, that's what's at stake. We can't exactly deny that it's essentially Nazi Germany. I mean, that's not even a dramatic thing to say. Look at this chicken, just accepted her fate. Despite witnessing an atrocity, Ginger remains unperturbed in her resolve to carry on with the mission. She gets a look at the beautiful sunlight on the horizon, a sharp but hopeful contrast to the grey squalor she's currently stuck in. Later, the Tweedies are up late whilst Mrs. Tweedy is doing the numbers on her farm's financial performance. The film bluntly presents these chicken bones to us, leaving no room for imagination. Yeah, that chicken got gobbled up. It's very macabre, but I think the film might be making a point with this. If it were the bones of a human or a more respected animal like a cat or a dog, then this would be utterly unacceptable to show to a child, but because it's only a chicken, it's fine. Tweedy's pissed because she ain't making much dough.
Stupid, worthless creatures!
Stupid, worthless creatures! I can only imagine this is the same kind of experience had by all those who invested in NFTs.
Stupid, worthless creatures! I'm sick and tired of making minuscule profits.
Cue one of the best jokes in the movie. It's so simple and so silly, but so effective. It might be a good time to talk about the comedy of Chicken Run.
I thought we tried going under. Over. Right.
Like a lot of kids' films made in the early 2000s, it does possess a touch of edge that maybe you don't get anymore these days. All of the best kids' films at the very least have a few adult jokes sprinkled in there. Like Rocky's straight up checking out their arses here, and also the fact that he's this foreign dude who's landed in this place that's full of women, that's an aspect that flew over my head as a kid. I like how they make his character a little bit of a douchebag, especially when he turns out to be a complete fraud. Excluding Ginger, all of the hens are enamored with him. It is very funny.
And what brings you to England, Mr. Rhodes?
Why, all the beautiful English chicks, of course.
You of course have this arse pinch that Mrs. Tweedy does to Mr. Tweedy. It's only because she's in a good mood that she's doing this, because she's getting something that she wants. It's such a toxic relationship that she's only affectionate when things are going well for her. There's also a fair share of dark jokes as well, like when Babs is knitting a noose. And also the fact that she always thinks that Ginger's on holiday every time she's put in the cooler.
Morning, Ginger. Back from holiday? I wasn't on holiday, Babs. I was in solitary confinement.
Or she thinks when they don't lay enough eggs they get taken on holiday. It's perhaps her mind trying to repress the traumatic nature of her situation. Your friend totally didn't get her fucking head chopped off, she's just on holiday, it's total cope. Another thing that makes this film so amusing is the inherent nature of the chicken characters. Americans might not be able to relate to this, but I've got a lot of relatives from Yorkshire, and this film is essentially like watching a bunch of middle-aged Yorkshire women trying to escape. To have this very specific brand of people at the helm of this adventure not only makes this an extremely warm and familiar experience for me, but it's also a really funny subversion. It's not a group of masculine British soldiers, it's just a group of fairly ordinary Yorkshire women. And then you have the rats who are from London.
Right, careful of things.
Rocky being so stereotypically American also makes for an interesting contrast.
Hi, how are you?
This American dude just shows up and starts flirting with all of these Yorkshire lasses.
Now, which bunk is mine?
And the fact that Rocky is voiced by Mel Gibson as well, him being who he is.
Listen, I've met some hard-boiled eggs in my day, but I'd say you're about 20 minutes.
The idea that he's in the cast of Chicken Run is just comical. But to be fair, to give him credit, he is really good in this.
Sleep tight, Angel Face. The rock's on the case.
Maybe the funniest thing of all, however, and this is true for every Aardman project, is the character design. It's those beady little eyes, man. They make you laugh just by looking at them. This shot of Babs just stood there completely oblivious to the danger with that big grin on her face. This is what older British women are like when you observe them for a moment. They're just odd and daft. The chickens are charming, absurd, and cute all at the same time, and I love character designs that are inherently comedic just in their appearance. And it's not in a try-hard way either, like with Illumination, because it still feels personal, not pandering. But let's just put a pause on the onslaught of positivity to talk about some negatives I have with the film. This is where I'll reveal myself to be a real miserable knob, but there are some jokes in this that really don't do it for me.
I can't help feeling we're going round in circles.
If we're just being critical, just for a minute, there are a lot of chicken puns in this, and no, they're really not for me.
It's raining hen!
These kinds of puns are always present in the best of kids' films, like all of Pixar, for instance. A Bug's Life will have a lot of bug puns, Finding Nemo will have a lot of fish puns, Coco will have a lot of illegal immigrant puns. It's a minor complaint, but still, no, it completely fucks the movie. Fuck that shit. It's a terrible 2 out of 10. Midder than Barbie.
You call this pie?
It's chicken feed.
You think that's funny, do you? You piece of shit. No, I don't like the chicken puns. I jest because the movie makes up for all of that with this joke.
I don't like the look of this one. His eyes are too close together.
Moving on with this slice of cinema, the hens have a secret meeting in Hut 17. There's a morale problem. Many of the chickens are feeling disheartened to carry on with this endeavour to escape the farm. They feel that it may be fruitless. Perhaps the better thing to do is to accept their fate and get on with life in prison.
We haven't tried not trying to escape.
That might work.
Maybe this entire tragedy with Edwina could have been avoided. The doubt is starting to set in, and even Ginger is starting to lose hope. She does give a speech about how the fences are not only around the farm, but in their minds as well.
You know what the problem is? The fences aren't just round the farm, they're up here, in your heads. Don't you get it? There's no morning egg count, no farmers, no dogs and coops and keys, and no fences.
They're so severely conditioned into thinking that this is all there is to life that they can scarcely imagine what freedom looks like.
Who feeds us? We feed ourselves.
Well, where's the farm?
There is no farm.
I like how the colouring of the scene is a lot warmer and hopeful as she tries to describe this greater way of life to them all. In storytelling, positive feelings of hope and happiness are often conveyed via these warm colours such as glowing oranges or yellows. In Chicken Run, we can always see that beautiful sunlit sky on the horizon, which is a sharp contrast to the colourless misery of the pen. Hope is ever present, freedom awaits them in the clouds. Despite the pep talk, the chickens still aren't all that convinced. Ginger's still adamant that there is a chance makes her leave, and when she's away from the rest of the chickens, she breaks down. You might be thinking this is a fairly basic moment in a film to make us feel sad, but you'd be horribly wrong in thinking that, because this actually adds to what we already know about her character. She's maintained a confident front for the sake of the rest of the chickens because she cares about them that much, and now in private she finally lets some of that anguish out.
No, oh no, what am I doing? Who are you trying to fool? You can't lead this bunch of...
It's a fairly human moment that gives her a lot of dimensions and honestly is quite a mature character beat to include in a kids film. This is all of course a prelude to Rocky's entrance to the film, Rocky who will become the male lead, who will supposedly rescue all these women from a life of oppression, who turns out to be utterly full of shit and just ends up wasting loads of the chickens' time with this farce that he can teach them how to fly.
Apples and oranges, baby doll. I'm gifted. They're not. You can't compare the two, okay?
Rocky is revealed to be quite a coward from the get-go. He's quite happy to leave all of these hens to their fate whilst he saves his own skin.
Hey, it's a cruel world, Dollface. You might as well get used to it.
The only reason he agrees to teach them how to fly is because Ginger threatens to turn him into the circus that he's just escaped from. He really isn't all that admirable. He's honestly quite a jackass, and I really like this direction they went in with him.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't.
Because I'm cute.
All he does is start bragging and trying to look cool in front of the girls. The film didn't make it so the hens were powerless without him. It's quite the contrary, actually. He's more or less completely useless for most of the film. It's ultimately the hens who devised the plan to build a plane at the end. The filmmakers made sure not to rob Ginger of her agency. She still remains the central hero and the primary instigator of the penultimate escape. It's subversive in ways you don't even notice, and you naturally prefer Ginger to Rocky anyway because she has the most integrity and courage.
Over here, the rule is always tell the truth.
Now this all leads into the biggest hot take of this video, which is that Chicken Run might just be a feminist masterpiece. Now take the following things with a grain of salt. This is all mostly done for fun. It's fun to theorise about things. If you think I'm overanalyzing, that's fine, because I kind of think that too, but also at the same time I'm 100% right. But regardless, there are quite a few things in this film that I took note of that do point to some female empowerment undertones. overtones. First of all, Ginger, great, solid character, the most likeable character in the movie. She's most definitely the hero of the story and does most of the heavy lifting. She's this awesome, tough leader that also has plenty of humanity, uniquely feminine in her motherly care for the rest of the flock. Honestly, she's like the head of the suffragettes. Secondly, the main villain, Mrs. Tweedy, one of the most terrifying characters in cinema history, definitely wears the trousers in that marriage. Remember, it's she who pinched Mr. Tweedy's arse, not the other way around. It's just the dominance she has over him. She's an evil kind of strong, but strong nonetheless, and acts as a great nemesis and foil for Ginger. Both of the male counterparts are kind of just bumbling fucking idiots, but never does this feel mean-spirited or forced. It's just funny.
Chicken pies, you great lummox.
Furthermore, the very nature of the chicken's predicament.
We lay eggs, day in and day out, and when we can't lay any more, they kill us.
The hens are being locked away and forced to lay eggs, which is something that's unique to female chickens, so could you not say that in many ways they're being subjugated and forced into performing traditional gender roles? The reason I bring this up is because watching this, it did remind me, funnily enough, of Mad Max Fury Road, where in that the most healthy women in the land are forced to breed, essentially. In Chicken Run, a hen who can't lay eggs is useless and disposable, and you know how you have those people who say that women aren't of any use if they can't give birth? The farm represents the rigidity of gender roles. It's laying eggs and that is all. Remember what Ginger was saying about the fences being in their heads as well as just around the farm? The societal conditioning is so strong that many of them believe that this is all there is. They've never been presented with any other option. Such a thing is completely alien to them.
So laying eggs all your life and then getting plucked, stuffed and roasted is good enough for you, is it? It's a living.
Come on, ladies, free the nipple! So Rocky remains a bullshit artist for most of the rest of the film. Ginger thinks that he can fly, so she asks him to teach her and the hens. Of course, he can't actually fly, so he just ends up wasting a ton of the chicken's time making shit up on the spot. He does teach them to let loose and have a dance instead of always worrying about escaping. It's like, take a break, relax, have fun, don't think about escaping for one moment, but I don't know how appropriate that is because they've literally made zero progress since the start of the movie. Yeah, let's all kick back and have a laugh, even though I'm a complete fraud, it's impossible to fly, and you're all actually doomed.
We've been working too hard. Time to kick back a bit, shake those tail feathers.
As this goes on, Rocky and Ginger build up a begrudging romantic relationship. Ginger is written to be much more trepidatious of Rocky's charm and his words, as befits her character.
If we don't see some results by tomorrow, the deal is off and you're on your own.
She's not falling for the charade out of stupidity, more so desperation. She just really wants to believe that chickens can fly. Rocky builds up a fondness for Ginger, and I'd say that's more or less well done. It's not like Before Sunset or anything, but it's nice.
Hey, if this is the way you show it, I hope you never care about me.
I can assure you I never will.
Good.
Fine.
It does lead, however, to Rocky displaying his first truly brave act of the film when he, without hesitation, goes to rescue Ginger from the chicken pie making machine. And good lord, that scene.
Size of that thing.
I forgot to mention that this film has not one, but two penultimate action set pieces. The first one being the scene where Rocky and Ginger have to escape the pie making machine. I remember as a kid, it really captured my imagination because to my brain, this was an enormous and daunting set piece. Fairly creepy and mechanical and dark, like they're in great peril here. As an adult, it more or less holds up and really just stands as a testament to the creativity of Aardman. It's what their animation style was made to do. Every scene, every beat in this is memorable, and that music kicks in again. Rocky really does conduct himself like a true badass here. His redemption arc is well underway, and this scene certainly helps accentuating the fact that he's finally starting to grow a pair. They almost get scorched by gravy, but then Rocky's like, here's a fucking carrot, get owned. You think they're out of the woods, but then it turns out that they've been put in an oven. Holy shit. And what do you know, we even get a little Indiana Jones nod as well, which is an appropriate comparison to draw, seeing as though Chicken Run has just given us a tremendous adventure set piece. Now, beyond the Pie Machine sequence being an incredible piece of filmmaking, there is another reason as to why it is so, should we say, poignant in how frightening it's depicted. An additional thematic undertone that is arguably more evident in its existence than the feminist ideas is the commentary of the farming industry. Now, of course, every kids film that anthropomorphizes animals is going to have the inevitable themes of, oh, what we're doing to animals is wrong, and they're just as important as people, and oh, don't hurt them, humans are actually the bad guy. You humanize anything, it'll be the case. The things that Chicken Run has to say on the issues, however, are a little bit more defined and specific. With minimal dialogue about what it's trying to preach, Chicken Run presents the lives of farm animals as appropriately oppressive and dismal. All of that darkness I was talking about before, the filthy drabness of the pen, the fact that they're essentially living in a concentration camp, the threat of death forever looming over their shoulders. It's all an appropriate degree of darkness to properly accentuate these themes of de-romanticizing the chicken farming industry. It's as explicit as it is because it wants children to feel strong, visceral emotions. Art is supposed to have a profound effect on the viewer, and this sure as shit is art. Honestly, you could call it a straight up expose of the meat industry.
Of Mrs. Tweedy's homemade chicken pies.
You have this line from Mrs. Tweedy.
Mrs.
Woman's touch makes the public feel more comfortable.
Which we all know to be true, even if we don't always think about it. You have all of these brands that are like, Auntie Jill's special fried chicken, yummy yummy, and it's this facade of this motherly, idyllic farm. These chickens were raised in a loving, warm haven, when in actuality, knowing the shittiness of the world, most of these brands are probably just torturing and slaughtering thousands of animals for the sake of mass production. I mean, this is all alleged, we can't say for absolute certainty, but it's most definitely probably happening, isn't it, you fucking bastards. We've now entered the final 30 minutes of the movie. After that close shave with death, Ginger and Rocky have a little heart-to-heart on the roof.
Good night, Ginger.
Oh, it's on now, people. He's been calling a dollface for the whole length of the movie up until this point where he finally calls her Ginger. Noah Baumbach, take notes. Now, unfortunately, even though Rocky did that totally epic thing of saving Ginger from becoming a pie, he still does end up bouncing. It pains him, but he can't teach them how to fly, so he flees like a coward. He leaves behind a piece of paper on his pillow, this piece of paper being the missing bottom segment of the poster that appeared to show him being able to fly. Now it's revealed that he was launched from a cannon. They finally see the big picture, and it's all a lie. The actual moment of Ginger adding the torn piece of paper onto the rest of the poster does have some fairly interesting technical decisions. As the truth sets in, circus music plays in the background as this almost taunting juxtaposition. All diegetic audio is removed from the scene and it plays like a PTSD episode. They've been left in the mud. They're seemingly fucked, but no, Ginger isn't going to give up so easily. This is Ginger we're talking about, for Christ's sake. Now that Rocky is out of the picture, the hens are forced to devise a new plan all on their own, and this is when the film gives back agency to Ginger, who is the main hero of the story. She's the one who ultimately comes up with the final escape plan. She's the one that gets the chickens out of there, completely removed from Rocky's influence. The chickens begin constructing the plane, meanwhile Mr. Tweedy has to repair the damage done to the Pie Machine by Rocky and Ginger's escape. It's DEFCON 1 now. This is it, their last chance. They have to put everything on the line because it's this or certain death. They're trading their precious eggs to the rats for tools, they're dismantling their homes to use as building materials. Once that Pie Machine's back up and running, they'll start loading all the chickens onto it. It's only a matter of time now. The stakes are high, it's now or never. And we get another kick-ass montage showcasing all of this. A riveting race to freedom. It's a perfect time for me to bring up the dynamic camera work of this film. You might expect a claymation movie to be comprised of stationary shots of just the subjects moving, but not the case. The camera is extremely energetic in this film. It's always moving, it's always giving us fun cinematic shots. It must have been a whole lot of extra work for the animators, but it shows their dedication and passion. As if it wasn't time consuming enough to animate every movement in frame, now they have to slowly maneuver the camera too. Amidst all this, we we cut back to Rocky, who is pedaling to freedom, but he comes across the Tweedy's farm poster and is reminded of what awaits his friends. And in true Han Solo at the end of Star Wars fashion, he turns back around. Now, this is a trope in cinema that I absolutely love, no matter how overused it's become. It's the flawed hero running away and then realising that he has to turn back and help.
Oh boy.
Even does the whole looking over the shoulder like... And then this line of dialogue that we've heard so many times before.
That's for leaving, and this is for coming back.
The film is intentionally using these over-theatrical story beats to create this epic narrative, and that's what makes it so charming. It's played so traditionally and dramatically, yet it's about chickens escaping from a farm, and I think that's what makes it work so well. It of course knows it's being silly, but that doesn't make it any less cool for a child's mind. Back at the farm, it's pretty much go time, but then Mr. Tweedy catches them red-handed. The chickens have come too far to let this fat bastard stop them now, so they just attack him. They finally kick the farmer's ass. They finally have some justice, you know, it's like when they got Tuco.
Because you're an insane, degenerate piece of filth, and you deserve to die.
And after that act of rebellion, there's no going back now. It's time to ditch this shithole. The plane is unveiled with this triumphant rendition of the main Chicken Run theme. Of course, the Scot is in the engine room. Babs ain't even fucking pedaling properly. This better be it now. I'm gonna be really pissed off if something happens. Oh, for fuck's sake. Ginger has to jump off the plane to prop the ramp back up. She's attacked by Mrs. Tweedy, who then gets murked by Rocky, who comes in from above. Now they can escape. They finally do it, the chickens fly, and it's spectacular. You have this shot of Ginger looking up in joy from behind the fence. She's not even free herself yet, but she's already celebrating, because it's not about her freedom, it's about the freedom of the entire flock. And then there's a little moment when you're like, oh, don't leave Ginger behind, but then they grab onto the Christmas lights and they're out of there.
Let's go!
Oh, hang on. One last ball ache to deal with.
Great Scott, what was that?
A Klingon, Captain! The engines can't take it!
That's another Star Trek reference right there, and now I'm beginning to speculate that this is the only reason this Scottish character is in the film, so sorry Movies and Milk for that cultural appropriation. Time to finish off Tweedy once and for all, and the two female leads go head to head. Tweedy is smashed into her own billboard, and then we get this perhaps poignant moment that we could say is capping off this entire theme of the unethical treatment of farm animals. We see Tweedy has caught on her head the cutout of her smiling face from the billboard. Here is the facade, and now here is the real thing. This crazy, vicious, axe-wielding sadist trying to lop the head off a chicken. There's the bullshit, wishy-washy version, immediately followed by the brutal, honest version. Ginger defeats Mrs. Tweedy once and for all, and they're home free. Finally. After this comes the epilogue. The nature haven depicted at the end is packed with colour and life and encapsulates all of the beautiful aspects of British wildlife. We see that some little chicks have hatched as the hens have finally been able to use their eggs to create life instead of having to give them up to the farmers. And not to be cringe or anything, but the chicks are pretty fucking cute. Ginger's last line of the movie is to Rocky and she says, "Come on, I'll show you how to play cricket." I didn't even know that these chickens played cricket, but fair enough. I suppose that is the first important piece of British culture to teach your American boyfriend about. Of course, we do have to ignore the fact that realistically, chickens that were bred in captivity for all of their lives probably wouldn't last a day out in the wild where there's no one to feed them. That's an entirely different story, and I'm not going to be so fucking cynical. Can we just enjoy one goddamn movie for a minute?
Come on, I'll show you how to play cricket.
And with that, we have an end to the film. I'd say that Chicken Run is more or less a timeless movie that you can watch anytime and enjoy. It's also a lovely snapshot into a particular part of British countryside living. I hope you found that invigorating for me to talk about. It's good to appreciate films like these, simple films that still have a firm understanding of what makes escapism so awe-inspiring. Simple A to B heroic story structures like Back to the Future or Star Wars that are just so well made and pure. This is what filmmaking is all about. about providing profound sensory experiences to people, catharsis, escapism, immersion. It's the reason for all of this, what drives our love of cinema. This channel is only here for me to try and communicate to you the thoughts and feelings that go through my mind when I watch these movies, and I hope this video has at least in part achieved that.
And remember to fucking subscribe.
And that being said, we're going to end this video, and if you've made it this far, please go fuck yourself. But no, I would like to take this opportunity to talk to the fans directly. I really appreciate what you've been doing, watching my videos. There's been a good amount of views on some of them recently, so that's nice. And I'm crawling up to 2k subscribers, so there might be a little celebration underway soon. I'm going to go have some food now, but adios, have a good one. Hope you're all doing well. Stay safe.
Stupid, worthless creatures.
She's like every intimidating teacher or mean dinner lady. Well, firstly, I'm not sure about genuine intention here on movie. It's brilliant in how relatable it is, because it's not about her freedom, it's about the freedom of the entire flock. We'd have morality.